depiction of mental health in Smile is just so off. On the surface, this horror film is absolutely fine. It's cool, it's got good jump scares, all that stuff. But when you really dig into the meat and potatoes of what this film is about, there's such a disconnect. So of course, Smile is a gimmick for explaining that trauma can be passed on from one person to one person. And what we really need to look at here is the main character, Rose, because we're seeing somebody that really can't deal with the past trauma that's happened to her, and she can't really cope, which I think is cool. I think the premise of Smile is really great. I think putting mental health into a horror film could be really, really good, but it's also very, very tricky, because what they're basically saying here is that mental health is an inescapable monster that you can't get away from. And the only way to get away from this monster is to pass your trauma onto somebody else. When we see Rose really spiral into that psychosis, if you like, of having the Smile entity follow her, she talks to her boyfriend who tells her to get help. Her sister also tells her to get help, but Rose isn't doing that. Then we see the visions of the entity getting stronger and stronger. So she goes to the cabin to try to get away from it, but obviously the entity follows her there as well. I mean, it's plain to see. You have to do something traumatic to yourself to pass the entity on to another person. That then becomes their trauma as well. It's blatant to see what this film is meant to be suggesting. Of course, we're getting a Smile number 2, and I do think this is actually quite an interesting premise, that we're following a pop star. I think there's loads of different avenues we could go down with this. There could be stress, anxiety with touring. I think it's really, really cool. But I'm a little bit wary how they're going to deal with the mental health element of passing on the Smile entity, or how that's going to be done. But I am excited. So what did you think of the original Smile and how it dealt and spoke about trauma and mental health? Do let me know in the comments, and don't forget, of course, to follow for everything horror.